Welcome to Steelers Weekly. I'm your host, Brian Schmidt. With me, as always, every week, former Pittsburgh Steeler wide receiver Dwight Stone. Dwight, how you doing tonight?
Hey, buddy, doing good. Live to see another week.
Yeah, we continue on this road to the Super Bowl. 18-16 victory. So much to really get into this week. I mean, we can talk about the Kansas City game. We can talk about after the Kansas City game. We can talk about New England. So there's so many different things. But, let's talk about the game first. 18-16. The Killer Bees plus Boswell.
I know, another beat.
Add another beat of the Killers. 6 field goals. Playoff record. So much about this game was so interesting to me. First of all, obviously Boswell, 6 field goals. Bell, great night. Ben, great night. Jesse James.
I told you, Jesse.
Clutch catches. Let's talk about the offense first. Defensively, I mean, we'll get into the defense in a second, but let's talk offensively. Very interesting that it seemed like the Steelers were dominating the game offensively, but no touchdowns. Give us your take on what you saw offensively. Bell had a huge night. Ben had that one interception. Again, the interceptions have been kind of a concern, but, it was tipped. Brown, great night. Jesse James, great night. The offensive line is right now, in my opinion, playing maybe better than any offensive line that we've seen in a while. Kind of give us your take offensively, what you saw and how this game played out.
I mean, like you said, it started with the offensive line. It was about who controlled the front five. That front five right there with Jesse James. You can bring him in also. I think to be able to run the ball really set the tone. I mean, because this Kansas City team ain't no team to be laughing about. They're at home. Their crowd's jacked up. It's at night, so people have a little longer to get the feeling good. So as the game was going, you see, like the linemen start getting stronger and stronger, and they're pushing them back. And as you can see, if Bell have enough time to delay and hit a hole, that means that the linemen are on somebody because they're penetrating, like some teams have been doing. They're getting Bell. But, I mean, what the line is giving him holes from one side to the other. He's taking advantage of them. And, like you said, clutch catches by Jesse James. I mean, you can call it what you want. He doesn't get all the publicity or everybody compare tight ends. He's a young one. But give him time. He's going to make a name for himself. And you look at Antonio. I mean, he's Antonio. I mean, he does his thing. You tell him to go out there. We need a first down. We need to keep this drive going. We need to end the game. Who do you go to? You go to Brown. That's who you go to. He's your clutch guy. And Ben stood in there. Ben made the throw when he needed to make the throw. Ben made the call when he needed to make the calls. But like you said, field goals was good that he made all of them. You have confidence in your kicker. But coming up this week, field goal ain't going to do it for us.
No, absolutely. When you look at this, I mean, Ben was 20 of 31, 224. Bell, obviously, I mean, what a 2-game playoff he's had.
That's crazy.
I mean, you're talking about, 30 carries, 170 yards in this game. Just unbelievable watching him make plays. Brown with 6 catches, 108 yards, and a couple clutch catches. Obviously, the one for the first down to end the game was huge. Jesse James, 5 catches, 83 yards. Just
that's my man.
Really, and I will say this as a sidebar: the one catch he had where Ben pump faked. I'll tell you, that pump fake, when Ben does that, it's amazing. And how he holds on to the football when he does that, I still don't get it. But, I mean, he pump faked, and, I mean, and anybody that's got, the NFL 22, I mean, if you watch the game film of that, watch that pump fake, I mean, there was 6 defenders that, went out of their shoes. And Jesse James settled right in that hole.
Yes.
Perfect.
That's nice.
And what can you possibly say about Boswell? 6 for 6. He had along the 45 yards. Here's a guy that, as I said, I don't remember, and obviously I can't sit here and think all 6 field goals, but I don't remember a field goal that was not down the middle.
There you go.
It seemed like every kick was down the middle and easily good. When you got a kicker like that, that's got to instill some confidence in you as a player, doesn't it?
That makes you, when you go out there, you call him clutch. It's like, okay, we've got us for we can get. We know the other B is going to be able to do his job. And he has done this 6 field goals in 2 games this year. And I tell you, that's not easy to do. And the weather and the fog and everything that goes along with it, it's just amazing. It's amazing how he does it.
We shift to the defense. Here's a defense that from week 11 on has been unbelievable. The continued improvement. Kansas City comes out first drive. Moves right down the field, puts it in, and I even myself went, uh-oh. What's going on here? And I know that Tomlin mentioned this in his press conference after the game. The one thing that he noticed was defensively none of these guys even blinked, and to come out and quite honestly, I don't want to use the word dominate the game, but at the same time, Alex Smith was 20 of 34, only 172 yards, 1 touchdown. Ware had 8 carries, 35 yards. Kelsey as a tight end didn't do a lot. Just a lot of things. They held Hill down.
Yes.
Just so many things with this that you just simply looked and realized, man, we're playing really well defensively. The back end, there are times where they make aggressive mistakes, but at the same time, shut down Kansas City.
I know.
Talk a little bit about what you saw defensively and just how good this defense is playing right now.
You start with number 92. I tell you that if you can't get up and get your game on after watching 92 doing what he's doing at the age that he's doing it, you have no complaints. You look over there, he's coming. And when he's not coming, he's making somebody else look good. Because, as you can tell, at that 2-point conversion, that what I got really when that happened, I'm thinking like, oh man, we're going to overtime. This is not good. That's the first thing that came to my mind. I said, oh, they got momentum. But when they turned around and saw a flag, and then they saw it was against a lineman and 92, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And he is the heart of that defense. It's amazing. So the defense are like you said, they're peaking at the right time, because when you go up to New England, you got to be peaking, because they're going to take your best shot. And thank goodness the young corners are doing good, but they're getting ready to go against Brady, and he's the master of the masters of deception.
Well, when you look at this defense, you talked about Harrison. Unbelievable, watching him play and watching him. But I'll tell you, two guys that have really just jumped out at me as the season has gone on, and one of them being Ryan Shazier, who had another interception, 4 straight games with an interception as a linebacker. He's just so active. What has really impressed me with him is running game, passing game, whatever situation, he's very active, and he just has a nose for the football. And that's something that when you start to see, here's a guy that I truly believe, and in my opinion, I think is going to become, if not the best linebacker in the NFL, he's certainly going to be up there. He's already getting there, but I mean, here's a guy that is just taking things to another level.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel very, very strong with him. But the other guy, I'll tell you, that just continues to come into his own is Bud Dupree.
There you go.
Again, another guy that, in my opinion, always around the football. He had 4 tackles, but just very disruptive. When he blitzes, he's disruptive. When he's in coverage, running game, just always seems to be very disruptive. And then, when we talk about the back end of the defense, Cockrell, he led the team in tackles. He had 5 tackles. When you look at Mitchell, how Mitchell's playing, Artie Burns, Davis, I mean, these guys are making plays. And I think that's where this really becomes something to see is just a continued ability defensively to make plays, get turnovers, and I liked, and I know there were some very hit and miss on this subject as the game was going on, but I, for one, liked that Tomlin allowed this game to be won by his defense by going for the field goals. And I know a lot, again, and I agree 100%, you're not going to beat New England with field goals. But I felt like this game from early on dictated get points.
Yes.
I know Tomlin on that first drive wanted to go for a touchdown in that situation, and there were fans that were clamoring for it. But I think, great decision to go for 3 early. When it's 7-3, great decision to go for 3, make it 7-6. There's a time to go, and sometimes where you got to look back, and I think that the confidence in the defense, even coming out of that first drive to be able to say, hey, they're not going to be able to score points on us all night. Let's get our points. And let the game dictate what we do instead of us taking a shot. And if we don't get it, now the game is dictating us.
That's right.
And so I liked the approach. I thought that was a great bit of coaching to make a decision that, hey, let's get our points. We'll allow the game to decide what we do as we go. But right now, I have confidence that our defense is going to play well. I have confidence in our special teams. We're going to get our points. And I think at some point you always feel like you're going to get a touchdown there, but as it worked out, it didn't. But I like the idea of getting the points there when you had the opportunity.
And there you go. Like you say, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. Know when to walk away and know when to run. And like you said, he put on his defense. He said, guys, we can get the field goal. Now I'm trusting that y'all going to take us over that hump. And sure enough, like you said, they've been improving since, I think you said, week 11. And they're getting better. And they kept getting better. And that's the nice thing about it, is that they are getting better, and they playing as a team. And you say, and everybody making plays. The linebacker core is amazing. And being that having some guys missing and out for the season. But I tell you, I'm loving what I see. And like you say, Tomlin put it on them. We're going to ride your defense. And now coming up against New England, I think everybody's going to be together as one, which is great.
And here's the unsung hero part to this game that I've seen talked about a little bit, but I don't know that it's gotten the due it deserves. Steelers kickoff return or kickoff team, I'm sorry. The first kickoff, they kicked it short, and that really gave the field position. And then after that, they, nope, you know what, we're not going to do that. Kick at the hill, which, everybody, every time you put the ball in his hands, you're holding your breath. Kickoff returns, Hill had 4 kickoff returns and only only an average of 18 yards. His longest return was 21 yards.
How about
that? That's getting it done right there.
That's getting it done. Kept the crowd out.
And in my opinion, that's an unsung hero to this win, in my opinion.
Yes, you hit that right on the head. I mean, because they're looking for a spark, and usually he's that one that he gives them that spark. But the way they was playing, the Steelers was playing the special team, it was ideal. I mean, because it came at the right time. Because like you said, every time they kicked off to him, I was going, okay, what's about to happen? And sure enough, their coverage team did an outstanding job.
So now we've gotten through the Kansas City game. Let's go to the big news of the week. Mr. Brown decided to Facebook Live the locker room, which, we all, as us old timers that have, been around this, what goes on in the locker room stays in the locker room. So clearly there was a lot of upset people about it. Talk a little bit about that. Talk about from your standpoint. How upset would you have been to be a player in that locker room, knowing that he had done this?
See, and then the wild thing is, I'm very laid back about lots of things, and knowing Brown, like I met him a couple of times. We had talked. I met him to Todd Haley, and I think that he just wasn't thinking. He got caught up in the moment. Maybe he had done this before. Doing the Facebook thing. He must have done it before, because if he'd done it before, it seemed like he did it before. But it's one of those things that you don't want it to happen, and especially one of your star players. The coach said he was giving the speech. He's back there doing his own thing, not even listening to the speech. I think that hurts more than anything, because here you are, one of the leaders of a team, supposed to be listening to the coach, because you got other levels, other players younger than you are watching you as a leader. So if you're doing that, some other ones probably was doing it too, and they thought it was cute. But that was the kind of thing you pull him aside and you start realizing, Antonio, if anybody I don't think no one feel worse than he did, because everywhere he goes, every time somebody talks to him, that's going to be the subject everybody talk about. Just like what happened on that boat. Remember that boat in Miami?
Yep.
If, God forbid, I want our Steelers to take it to the MAC. But if something weird happened and they happen to not get a victory, what do you think the first thing they're going to say? They can go back to Antonio and that FaceTime, what do you call it, Facebook, whatever they call. Yes.
I mean, I know, again, being around this game for so long as you have, I mean, and it's funny because, I mean, I had this conversation last night on another show. I mean, I can tell you right now, I mean, I've had as a head coach, I mean, I've had some locker room speeches that, quite honestly, if they were ever got out on Facebook, I'd probably right now be doing 10 to 15. I mean, we were talking about one on the show the other night where, I mean, I started, and I mean, it ended up turning into, pillaging, and I mean, it was like there were players that were still to this day were like, Coach, we didn't know what to even think, because it was crazy. But that's that's the way it is in the locker room. And for a head coach to not have that, to in that situation, I mean, you basically violated one of the biggest rules, and that is what goes on in the locker room stays in the locker room. And now as a head coach, you spend your time looking around wondering, does everybody got their phones away? I mean, that's something that you shouldn't have to think about. And, I I think it was a very, it was very poor judgment.
Yes.
I could tell based on Antonio obviously was, it affected him. I think it's something that he knows better. But at the same time, I hope this is something that, he learns from and becomes better at, understanding that you can get caught up in a moment, but you got to be thinking at all times, is this the right thing to be doing? And I had no problem with the Facebook Live, but when the coach starts talking, that's when you shut it down. And so that was really the disappointing part for me.
I like what you said. You said, caught up in a moment, but thinking all times. I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I like that.
I mean, sometimes you got to understand, sometimes the situation just dictates it's, you got to understand situation and you just can't get caught up. And so, that was disappointing. But with that, I mean, I hope that, this is they're able to move away from that, to get back on track. I think the Steelers overall have done a very good job of diffusing it as best you can. I think Tomlin coming out yesterday and saying what he said, I thought was outstanding. I thought, Ben saying what he said, Antonio saying what I thought that was great. And I'll be honest with you, again, I don't know what he's doing behind closed doors, but I really loved Belichick's reaction to it all.
Yes.
I thought that was outstanding. Now, he could be using it.
Yeah.
He could be using it in the line. I mean, who knows? But at the same time, I thought it was great because it truly, in my opinion, there are a lot of head coaches that would have, got up there and would have turned it into a bigger spectacle. But saying what he said, I mean, it was both funny because you really can believe Belichick has no idea what Facebook is, Snapchat. He has no idea. It was just funny the way he said it, the way he approached it. And that's one thing with Belichick is sometimes his pressers just crack me up because he is true old school.
Yeah.
So now we come into New England. Here we are, Conference Championship, 15-2 now. New England Patriots coming off a very strange game against Houston, and in the fact that Tom Brady threw some interceptions.
Yes.
They didn't look crisp.
No.
But yet, at the end of the day, I mean, put a whooping on put a whooping on them. I mean, if you watch the game, you didn't really think it was a whooping.
Exactly.
A 28-point win. But at the same time, you look at that final score and you're going, man, they won by 28.
Yeah, they to the woodshed.
Does this bode well for Pittsburgh? Is it a simple case of coming off the bye week? They were a little out of sync, and now does it bode well for Pittsburgh that, you're going to see New England's best game? Or, is this a sign where one of the things that I've talked about in other shows is the amount of times New England has played this year against quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks, quarterbacks that were not very good, teams that were not very good. Well, now, and again, let's remember early in the season when they played Pittsburgh, it was not Ben out there, it was Landry Jones.
Yes.
And also a defense at the time that was, still coming into its own, was not very good. Well, now New England's facing Ben, who's healthy. You've got an offensive line that's playing right now, in my opinion, they are putting themselves one of the top offensive lines in
yes
in the NFL right now. This offensive line is playing unbelievable. You've got Bell, you've got Brown, you've got Jesse James. Defensively, you've got a defense that's playing great football. Where is New England? New England's going to bring their best. Pittsburgh, you got to feel is going to bring their best. I can't see New England making the same mistakes they made against Houston. Where's this game stack up? Where's this game going to be won and lost for Pittsburgh? Where's this game? Where do you see this game going?
See, it won't surprise me if New England won the toss and they delay it to the second half. And when they kick off, I won't be surprised he wouldn't try to do an onside kick. Because they're going to be pumped. Everything going to be going on. You think his defense is doing real good. He may do something as simple as that. That's something about Belichick that it's hard to read him, like the interview. He said Facebook, just his whole way of doing things. You never know what he's thinking. And that's something that will not surprise me because he's not too much on the gadgets. He's like, hey, line it up. We're going to do what we got to do. But being that he see that the Steelers are doing good, their running game, he's thinking like, man, they got a great running game. They're doing good at tight end. If Green come back, I don't know, is he supposed to be coming back that you know of, the tight end?
As what I had read about an hour ago, he actually practiced today.
Oh,
he actually
that right there, that would be nice. That would be even that would put a new twist because the weather's supposed to be nice. I think it'll be like 45, no rain, just 45 degrees, and that's like a heat wave for both teams. And if the weather's not playing, I tell you, it's going to be a great game because I look at New England, like you said, they were on top of their game. They could have been coming out flat. They had to get slapped a couple of times, then they came to themselves because they have a complete team too. I mean, it's going to be like the Gladiators. Only one man going to walk out of that arena. Everybody else don't slay down, and everybody. Them two going to dance, two gladiators. Only one going to walk out the ring. And it's going to be one of those games where it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a knockdown drag-out. I won't be surprised if something like the New Orleans Saints, not the Saints, but the Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys. I won't be surprised if they'll go like that, something like that at the end.
It's funny. I do the NFL Pick'em show here on A Grilling Truth, and it's funny last night how everybody took New England, and everybody except me, because obviously I took but everybody felt like New England will blow Pittsburgh out, and I don't see it. I see this. The Steeler defense is not the same Steeler defense that New England played all the way back early in the season.
That's right.
This obviously offensively completely different with Ben. Now, right now, Ben is not playing his best football, but as we have seen in his career, let's be honest, he's not playing his best football, but I think some of that is because the reliance on the running game and putting the ball in Bell's hands, and B, because the defense is playing better, I mean, it's allowed him to take a few more shots that maybe he normally wouldn't take. And I feel like he starts cashing some of these shots in, here we go. But I feel very strongly that this Steeler defense, again, when you're playing Brady's going to get his shots. But the one thing that New England does not have that, to me, is a huge difference maker in playing this Steeler defense. They do not have Gronkowski.
That tells that man right there.
Brady is going to get his yards. The running game with New England, obviously is much improved. I really, watching that Houston game, I was really impressed with their ability to run the football. They put the ball in Lewis's hands. He does it both, running and passing game, and he only had 13 carries for 41 yards. But boy, it just seemed like any time they needed that 4 or 5 yard,
yes,
he got it. Brady's Brady. Edelman is Edelman. I think at the end of the day, though, this New England team is not. They're a very very good football team, but to downplay what Pittsburgh can do in this game, I think is foolish. I think when you look defensively, offensively, and special teams,
yes,
there's a lot of things here. I think Pittsburgh is a hot team coming in. I think. It kind of reminds me of, the year that, Ben's first Super Bowl against Seattle. It kind of reminds me of that playoff run where Ben didn't have to be perfect, but you had, and I keep saying, to Seattle, I just remember that. He had some great games in that playoff, but at the same time, if you remember in the Super Bowl, he did not play very well. But
exactly.
The Steeler defense was very good. Special teams were very good, and the Steelers were able to run the ball.
That's right.
And I see a lot of similarities right now. This defense is just getting better. Everybody still wants to poo-poo the secondary. Look, these are young guys that have improved all year.
I agree with you.
They're not even as good now as they will be next year.
That's right.
But right now, I think they're playing at a pretty high level. They're a confident group, and I like the way they fly around. We've talked about the linebackers. Defensive line's playing well. Look, in my opinion, and I'll say right now, I think Pittsburgh can win this game. And I feel very confident they can win this game, and I think 27-23.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. They're going to get some touchdowns, and I think defensively, I think they're going to play well. And 23 points, doesn't sound like a great defensive game, but you're playing Brady. Brady's going to get his.
Yes, he is. He is.
But I think defensively, I think this Steeler team is really going to play well, and like I said, I feel 27-23. What are you looking at?
I think it's going to be 24-30. Yeah, I think it's going to be. The weather is going to dictate. So the weather must be nice. For both teams in the 40s, that's what they used to. In the ground, but yeah, the thing is, his crutch. The guy you go to, his clutch guy, is he's not playing, which is a blessing for us. I hate to see that he's hurt, but it's a blessing for us. And the thing is, when the receiver catch the ball, you got to make sure you punish him. You got to let them know that, hey, you come across this middle because they're known for the underneath stuff. Quick move. When they come across, you got to make them pay. Every once in a while, you may have to get a penalty, a 15-yard penalty, to let them know that, hey, this is not going to be allowed today. And not mean to hurt somebody, but just let them know that across the middle ain't the way you want to come to. And if you do that and you make them try to become a one-dimensional team, which they are, I don't think their running game is okay. But if they can shut that down, make it a one-dimensional team, I think the Steelers have a bigger chance of winning by more points. But the key is, like you said, got to make sure Lewis is not making those unusual runs.
I think you hit it on a key. You can't allow Lewis to beat you.
That's right.
To sit here and say, well, you can't allow Brady to beat you. Well, let's be honest, Tom Brady. Tom Brady's going to get his. You can try to limit him as much as you can, but at the end of the day, Tom Brady's going to get his. It's much like Ben. Ben's going to get his. Even when Ben has a bad game, he'll get his.
Yeah.
I think it just really the difference comes down to me, the Steelers are able to run the ball. If they are able to run the football and then defensively, hold this team from just not being able. And if you remember in the first matchup, it wasn't as if New England went up and down the field the whole game. It really was more of a second half where I think the Steelers defense got a little worn down because, they were on the field the whole game. That was just, when you got a bunch of Steeler haters, on a pickup show, they give you a lot of reasons for why the Steelers can't win. But to me, it comes down to, look at what this team has done in this last part of the season. This Steeler team, to me, is offensively, defensively, special teams playing at a very high level. And this is not a New England team that's going to face that same Steeler team, and I keep saying that. But, man, I mean, everybody wants to point to that game. That game is not anywhere near what this game is going to be. So, hey, let's see what happens. I mean, my thing is this. I feel very confident that Pittsburgh can win this football game, and so I'm excited.
Oh, I'm so excited. I mean, it'd be nice to see them going to another one. And like you said, it's one game away. One game away. Wow, that's
we're gonna have plenty to talk about next week. And my hope is next week we're getting ready for a Super Bowl. So, going to be a big week.
Yep. This is the time that whatever you ate, that the games that you won, whatever you cooked that day or whatever you whipped up, some kind of voodoo stuff, whatever you ate, we need to do it. We need to do it this Sunday. Whatever we need to do.
Absolutely. Wear your lucky jersey, whatever you got to do. Put on your underwear that you've worn, whatever you got to do. But make it happen. So.
Oh yes. I'm with you, buddy.
Well, we will get together again next week.
Yes.
Everybody, appreciate you listening in. There's some great shows going on right now. The NFL Pick'em show, which I'm involved with, is awesome. And right now I'm tied for the lead. So my two picks this week, if they both come right, I could win this thing, which everybody picked New England. I picked Pittsburgh, and my like would be to have Atlanta make the Super Bowl, because I really would love to see Atlanta make it. But my heart and my brain are telling me that right now Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers is a hot team, and sometimes you just got to go with that hot guy. So if Pittsburgh and Green Bay are going to the Super Bowl, I want to pick them for the year. So I'm going to be rooting for Green Bay. So.
I am with you.
But we will get back here next week. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We will see everybody same time, same channel next week. For Dwight Stone, I'm Brian.